I call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Toyne.
Here.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson. Yes. Andy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Council, do you have any changes to the agenda this evening? I have two things that we're going to push back to the next meeting. One is a resolution, consideration to request reimbursement from the Iowa COVID-19 Government Relief Fund. We're not quite ready to give that detail yet. And also the tax abatement for Fairfield Food Collective for 400 North 2nd Street. We don't have all the information on that as well, so we're just going to push those back to the next meeting. Okay? Okay, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes of the July 27, 2020 council meeting. Approval of August 7th, 2020 payroll in the amount of $133,472.49. Resolution of fund transfers. Acceptance of the library board minutes. Acceptance of the personnel committee minutes of 7/21/20. Approval of claims in the amount of $1,921,891.32. We have two claims over $75,000. One to Maxwell Construction in the amount of $1,248,343.70. That's related to the sewer project, step 2. And then Toyne Inc., I don't know how to say that actually, $335,000 for our pumper truck. So I'd entertain a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Is there any discussion? Please call a roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Toyne.
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes, but I need to abstain from the July 27th council minutes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Our public appearances tonight, we just asked our community partners to come and give us a quick update. So tonight, we're going to hear a little from Jefferson County Health Nurse Christine Estle. I think Vina Miller's here from MIU, Brett Ferrel from Emergency Management, and Bryan Hunger from our hospital. So y'all can go and whatever you want to go.
Hey, Connie, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me. I just took my mask off out in the other room, so I had that on. I'm Chris Estle. I'm the Jefferson County Public Health Nurse Administrator. I just want to give you guys a quick update. I know you've been following our Facebook posts and other information that we provide to the community. To date, at this time this afternoon, it was like about 3 o'clock or 3:15, we had performed follow-up on 84 confirmed laboratory confirmed cases in Jefferson County. That makes us have 20 active cases. I will say that the Iowa Department of Public Health has been doing updates to their website, so they're making more data accessible to the public. It's not like the health departments have super secret data that is squirreled away someplace that only we can see. We have access to the same information that the public has access to. The governor has continued to, well, she just changed and now she's having twice weekly press conferences again at 11 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And the Iowa Department of Public Health is hosting community coalition partner webinars from 11 to noon on Tuesdays and, 12 to 1 on Tuesdays. I'm trying to keep it all straight. So I don't really have an official update per se, just know that we continue to do contact tracing, which is nothing new for public health. Public health has been doing contact tracings for years for all communicable diseases. What that means is when we get a lab confirmed case, we're notified from the Iowa Department of Public Health. We start that contact tracing or that disease follow-up by first contacting the individual that is positive, and we work in rings from there. We do not do follow-ups on antigen testing. That's something that the state is looking at, so we do follow-ups on lab-confirmed cases and positive serology, so meaning you've had the virus, you've been exposed to the virus, and you've built antibodies against that. I don't know what else to say. It's been a long time since January, I can tell you that. I continue to work with our hospital partners, with Brett Ferrel, with our nursing homes, assisted living, our school partners, our elected officials, and not necessarily in that order. It takes all of us working together. And it's been a long road to this point, and it's going to be even longer because this virus is not going to go away. It's something that we're going to have circulating in our community until we either all get sick from it and build antibodies, or we don't get sick and we're exposed, or there becomes a vaccine. I don't get hung up on any one of those three things. I know as a nurse that's how it works. If you work in the medical field, you know how that's how we build antibodies. And we just ask that the public continues to do what we ask them to do. Good hand washing, good hand hygiene, good respiratory etiquette. If you're sick, if you have kids, keep them home. And if you're an employer, be understanding when you have people out sick.
Hey, Chris,
yes.
do you feel that, or are the numbers showing, are they, as far as active cases, is that kind of staying steady, going up,
is.
going down, up and down?
It's kind of
you know?
status quo, really. I mean,
Okay.
of course, we're going to see an increase because we have, different tests available and we have more access to testing. Plus, you have to remember this virus has been circulating in our community for an extended period of time. So with any virus, the longer it's in your community, the more people that are going to get sick or exposed. So then hopefully we build the herd immunity that public health so badly needs to keep us healthy. So again, I appreciate everybody's work and efforts, and we're in it for the long haul, so we're not done yet. So thanks, everyone. Does anybody have any questions or anything for me?
Yes, Nurse Estle, have you seen, since there have been some health protocols established in Jefferson County, have you seen any variance in how people are applying those protocols over the last, since March, for example, when you first came to speak with us?
Right. I can tell you that we have been working very closely with our school partners right now with Fairfield Community School District, MSAE, MIU, and Pekin School. They've had a very difficult job trying to figure out their return to learn plans. They think they have it in place and then it changes. As a virus progresses and as we learn more about it, we're going to see changes continue to happen in the protocol and what we ask people to do. In a few months, we might see something totally different than we see today. So that's why I referenced at this point in time today, this is what I know, because it could change by the end of today. And we get updates all the time from the Iowa Department of Public Health with the latest guidance and the latest changes. I know it's frustrating because as humans, we like to know and then not change anything, but that's not how science works. So good question. Anything else I can answer for you?
I was going to ask too, without violating any HIPAA laws or anything like that.
Right.
The 20 active cases, what are the age ranges?
If you
How
go
does
to
that fall?
if you go to the coronavirus.iowa.gov website, that's why we don't provide that information every day, because it's in real time. The majority of the cases, the other day they were even like 21-year-olds to 40-year-olds, and then 41 to 60. Now it's a little bit opposite. We've got more cases in younger adults. So if you go to that coronavirus.iowa.gov website, you will see that. The other thing I can share that's not a HIPAA violation is, of the cases that we have done follow-ups on, contact tracings on, the majority of those individuals have lost their taste, lost their sense of taste and smell. So you might see somebody that has one or two symptoms, no symptoms. And again, a test is just a point in time. If you have a negative test, you can still go on and be positive later, or you can be totally asymptomatic and have a positive test. So sometimes there's a huge educational component where we have to say, if you're symptomatic, we still need for you to stay home, even if your test was negative. So it's tough. It's not a win-win for anyone. It's a lot of time, and it's a lot of continued education and support from people. So.
And Chris, are you getting good feedback from people that you're contacting when you do the contact tracing?
For the most part,
Are people being
yes.
responsive and calling you back if you don't reach them right away? So do we need to emphasize how important that is?
For the most part, yes. What we'll do is we'll just leave a message on a cell phone or a home phone. We'll just say, hi, this is Chris calling from the Jefferson County Public Health Department. I need for you to call us back at this number. We don't leave any other information on that message, just that. So, but if people have been tested, they're usually pretty anxious and they want to get those results back relatively quickly. And that's another thing. It takes anywhere from 24 to 72, maybe a little bit longer hours to get your results, depending on where you were tested and the time of day you were tested, if you're waiting on a courier to pick it up at the health center. So if you guys have any questions, don't ever hesitate to call the health department. We're there. So 472-5929, there's me and 3 other nurses that can help answer your questions. So I appreciate it.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much. Stay healthy.
Okay, who wants to go next? Vina, do you want to go next?
Sure. I've actually been asked just a question, but
She's not far away.
So, my name is Vina Miller. I'm one of the nurses at Maharishi International University. And as you probably know, school is about to start, and so we are gearing up for our entry. We actually have some people who have already arrived, and we have already tested about 125 of them at the university. 85 of those results have returned, and they're all negative at this point, which we're really glad to know. We're testing all students, and we have asked all faculty and staff to get tested at the Burlington site or previously at the Ottumwa site. We haven't had very many positive cases on campus. One of them was asymptomatic, and just because he had gotten tested, he found out that he had positive results. And because we are all staying at home primarily doing our work, it was fine. He was already isolating, so there was no issue with that. We've done a lot of work trying to get ready for this entry, and we're very hopeful that it will create a safe situation for everybody. Some of those things I'd like to share with you because I think they're pretty cool, some of them. We're using some new technology. One of the things which is called a thermal scanner. We have one of those in the entry of our Gerald Student Hall, and as people come in, they stand in front of it and they get their temperature read. And if we set it up this way, it can also say to them, please put on your mask. Another thing of technology is something called the Campus Clear, which is a website, an app for your phone, and we're asking every student to download that, as well as staff and faculty members. And in the morning, it asks you to report your symptoms, if you have any. And it's got cute little icons, and the first one is no symptoms, or, goes down, sore throat, etc. Then you can push the button to submit it, and then if you have no symptoms, it sends you a little smiley face. It says, have a good day. But if there are symptoms to be reported, then those will be coming to the nurse's office so that we can track what student building they're in or what dorm they're living in and get to those people quickly. But to me, it's even more important. Oh, that must be my phone.
I hated to interrupt you.
What?
That means I'm supposed to come to the meeting. But I would have been late. Recently, there have been so many phone calls that I've changed my dial tone because I couldn't stand hearing it anymore. It was like, oh my God, I don't want to hear it anymore. Let's see. So if there was a breakout of illness, we would know quickly, and we would be able to respond. If someone does get sick, or if someone does test positive, we would be isolating them for 14 days in a dorm which has its own separate bathrooms. Everyone would have their own room with a bathroom. We would be delivering meals to them and interviewing them by Zoom every day. And if they got to a place where they needed more help, we would interact with Jefferson County Health Center, which has been a godsend in some situations already. So we really appreciate their being there. So this fall, everyone has gotten a welcome kit when they arrive, which includes things like a thermometer, a mask, masks, some hand sanitizer. There is hand sanitizer in the Argiro building, which they can refill their little hand sanitizers with. We continue to have our servers in the kitchen. All students have their meals, and faculty and staff served. The U.S. students who arrived, because we know the U.S. is one of the places in the world that has a lot of cases, we are keeping separate in dorm sections, and they can go to get a meal at the regular student center, but as they enter, there's a big partition that's been built. People who are just new stay on this side. People who have been here for a long time can walk up this side of the stairs. They each have their own thermal scanner. They go into separate serving areas, and the newcomers are asked to eat under tents outside until their 2 tests come back negative.
Great.
International students are going to be isolated for 14 days, which is the CDC recommendation. And they will also be tested twice. Recreation activities and orientation are going to be held virtually, are already starting to be held virtually. For the university as a whole, we instituted an out-of-county travel ban back in March, and that continues. If someone has a medical appointment, because this has been a long time now, we do interview each of them and ask, where are you going? What's the situation like? Can you be called from your car to come right into the office? Does everyone wear masks? Fortunately, most places are doing all of those things now. And if it seems like, someplace like U of I, we still ask them to isolate for 3 to 7 days, depending upon what their exposure is. We're going to be having a large MIU van taking students to Walmart instead of having them go separately or go in cars jam-packed so that we can socially distance them in a van. Fortunately, Walmart now requires masks, so that's really nice. Campus is still closed to off-campus friends, including for dining. And we still have our 2 banks of sinks outside of our Giro, which is a student center, so anyone coming in for meals is required to wash their hands before they come in. And those are separated still, newcomers and people who've been around for a long time. We even have a bathroom schedule so that we don't have too many people in the bathroom at the same time now for those who are newcomers and isolating, so that we don't have any breakouts of a lot of people being sick. And I think that's all that I have to say, but if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Vina. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for doing a great job out there. Brett?
So I'm Brett Ferrel, Jefferson County Emergency Management Coordinator. Thanks for having me. I don't have a lot to say. Chris covered, Chris and I work together, obviously, in this public health, emergency. I just want to reiterate my role. It's basically for resources to her and the community on what we need to help mitigate some of the issues that come along with any kind of disaster. And, Chris, and they work extremely hard. And I want to let residents know that, we've been doing this for 8 months now, and it hasn't been easy, but she's got a great team. And she gets questions all the time about, are they not doing this? I can guarantee you they're doing everything they can to do their tracing and make sure that they're keeping everybody safe. They work really hard at it. So back to the resource part of it, when we first started this, we started having our meetings here in March. In April, once a week, we'd get together and we talked about PPE. And the goal at the beginning of this, back when we started working on it, was to not to overwhelm our hospitals and care facilities. And right now I can tell you that, and Bryan's going to speak after me, but we accomplished that goal. We still have plans in place moving forward if that changes. The residents seem to be doing a great job of what they're supposed to be doing. And, we hear a lot of negativity, which doesn't help. Chris gets, a lot of negativity some days. Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? That doesn't help anybody. It's new to us. We've worked hard for 8 months mitigating this, and, everybody's tired of it, but I can guarantee you we're tired of it too. But back to the PPE, you can look at the coronavirus website, the coronavirus.iowa.gov, and see any statistic you want to on there. And I study numbers on there. I don't study cases in our county that much. I know how many we have. I know how many active cases. But I look at hospitalization rates in our region, also across the state. Those are the numbers that concern me when we move our plans forward, which, right now we're not seeing that. Hospital rates are low. People aren't, I think today I looked at it, state of Iowa, you had 250 people in the hospital. And our region had 50-some, and you got to remember, our region's 14 counties, including the U of I, Mercy, and Genesis. So those are pretty good numbers. So that's what we look at, and then we look at those numbers, and when it's updated, if we think that we need to move on something, that's where we start making plans with our local hospitals. But we've done a good job, and again, Chris has already talked about some of that stuff, but Jefferson County should be very happy with the people they've got, including everybody here, working on this, because even though we have 86, 84 cases, whatever they are right now, I think it's up to 86, that's pretty good for our county. And we haven't had a death yet, and we don't have anybody at the hospital. So all things aside, we flattened the curve at the beginning, and we worked together doing that. Cases are going to go up because it is a pandemic. It went from what kind of frustrates us sometimes. It went from flattening the curve, keeping hospitals safe, making sure we had places for people to go when they were sick, to keeping everybody from getting it. That's impossible. So everybody gets focused on it. We went up 1 or we went up 2. Yeah, that's bad, but our county's done really well. And I just like to thank everybody that's worked with us on a daily basis to make that happen. So it's kind of my update. Any questions
Thanks,
for me?
Bryan.
I have one thing. Where's Chris at?
Chris? She thinks I'm calling her.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I just want to
What's the
say,
question?
nope, you gotta get up, Bryan, come back in here. I share an office with, or in the same building where Chris is, and we put together an emergency operations center when you know what hits the fan. And usually it's for a few hours or maybe a half a day. These guys have had that thing open for months, and they have literally, their lives have been put on hold. I saw vehicles there Monday through Friday, Saturday. I know they take calls on Sundays, and like Brett said, we're in the position we're in, which is a good position because of their leadership, and I just personally would like to thank you.
Oh, thanks, Scott. You're welcome. Thank you for
Thank you,
your
Scott.
support. Thank you.
Great. Great
Any
job.
questions for me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, you guys.
Send in Bryan.
Bryan, your turn.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for letting me come in and provide a quick update on Jefferson County Health Center. I will, just a couple of quick things that we thought of that might be interesting to you is, I know early on there was some challenges with getting even PPE. You might have remember early. At this point in time, the hospital is doing really well in the PPE department. We have no issues with getting any gloves, masks, gowns at this point. We've even been able to upgrade to N95 masks for our patient care staff or direct care, so probably a little bit extra protection for them. So we're doing really well in that department. I would just remind all of our visitors are still required to wear a mask when they come in, whether they're a patient or a visitor. We see generally about 70 to 80% of the community that's coming in that is already wearing one. And so the rest of them don't put up much of a disagreement to put on. They're happy to do it, so we provide those masks for them. So we're still doing that. We do have visitor restrictions in place still. For inpatient, it's available between 3 to 6 p.m. Every day of the week. We do allow when someone is leaving the hospital, there's at the very end, if you've ever been in the hospital, you know that at the very end we give discharge instructions, or basically a plan when you get home. We do allow a caregiver to come in and help listen to that also, to make sure that the information gets translated over, and the patient gets the care that they need once they leave our facility. One of the areas of interest, I think, that's been expressed in the press is regarding testing capabilities. We do have a machine that does provide testing. The challenge from the beginning has always been the supply chain of being able to get test kits. So that is something today that is still a challenge. We have been working on it from the beginning, trying to find a variety of avenues to collect them. So that, our goal is to be able to test anybody who wants to be tested. As of right now, we're following an algorithm to make sure that to determine who's eligible to receive a test and who's not. So it's a little bit more challenging because of that, 'cause our goal is we would love to be able to test for everybody. We are in the works right now of having 2 additional organizations that we're partnering with to increase that testing capabilities. One we're hoping to be able to have in place by the mid-September, the second one by mid-October, just because it just takes that long to get stuff in place. But we are working on that. As far as other things going on, we're really working on getting back to the new normal. We've made several operational changes that moving us back in the direction of getting back to as much normal operations as we can get to at this point. You may have, if you've been to the hospital, we used to have screeners at all the entrances. This is just one small example. There's no more screeners at the front desk. That's going to stop you. Everybody still gets a temperature. Everybody still is checked to make sure they get a mask, but all of it happens at registration desk now instead of at the screening station. It's just one small step that's trying to move back to get into that new normal. That's all happening at registration instead of for screeners. So there's several other examples that go into throughout the hospital, but that's one of the things that we're just trying to get back to the new normal. Otherwise, we really do appreciate the community's support and everything that we've been doing and going through. It's definitely been I don't know how many months we've been in now, 6 or 7 months. Our staffs have been at work every day through the whole thing, providing the care and doing the things that they love to do, which is take care of patients. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to talk about that.
I have just a quick question, Mr. Younger. Are there being tests taken at the hospital, at the health center?
Yes. Yeah, there are tests that we do. Basically what we do is we have an algorithm that we follow. First thing is if somebody comes in, you have to have symptoms. So if somebody comes in and says, hey, I'm going to go see my grandmother next weekend, and I don't have any symptoms today, but I just want to make sure that I'm not COVID positive, we would not test that because they don't have any symptoms today. So that's just that's an example of what's in our algorithm. And it's just because of the availability of kits. We get maybe 20 kits, maybe a week. So if you can see, we try to save those for the real need, is basically.
And what's roughly the turnaround in terms of being able to get the results on those tests?
It varies, right? We still send kits to State Hygienic Lab. The State Hygienic Lab is 24 to 48 hours. They're pretty good. We've had a partnership with a company called LabCorp, and they've taken anywhere from 5 to 9 days, varying over the last 6 months. So.
Thank you.
Do we have serology testing there? Because isn't that available at Washington?
Serology testing, so you're talking about to determine whether you've had COVID
Yeah,
in the past?
I think.
Yes, we do have that.
Isn't that what's offered at Washington Hospital?
I'm not sure what's offered in Washington. We do have that ability here.
Okay.
We've done that. We've offered it to all of our employees. I'll share with you, we had 226 that volunteered to have it done, and we had 4 come back positive. 2 of them we knew were going to come back positive because they were positive previous month. And so we had 2 employees out of that 226 that we didn't know about.
So can the public come in and get that test?
Yes. That is available to anybody who would like to have that done.
Explain to me, what does that test do again?
It's a retroactive look to determine whether you've had COVID or not.
I see.
Because remember, there's a large percentage of patients or people who have COVID who will show no to zero or to minimal to zero symptoms. And so it's a way to be able to look retroactively at, did you have it or not?
What's the cost?
Ooh, that I did not bring. I apologize.
Insurance cover that or not?
I honestly not sure. I can send some information out if you want to look. You see what?
I've had it, and I've looked into it, I don't believe it does.
Okay. It's very
You don't
possible. I can
think
look
your
it up, see the
insurance
cost.
pays? Is that what you just said, John?
My insurance didn't pay.
Okay.
There's been some employers who have paid for it and different avenues like that too, but.
Great. Thank you. Any more questions? Really appreciate you coming in to give us an update, and let's hope we stay positive
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
with negative tests, right?
That's good, yeah.
Let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
Glad you
Okay.
caught that.
Okay, let's go on to resolutions, action items, and ordinances. First item is consideration of engagement agreement with Ahlers and Cooney for mixed-use zoning. Melanie's going to give us the update on that.
Yes, so this is a letter of engagement with Ahlers and Cooney for our hourly services to assist us with our mixed-use ordinance. Mixed use is not widely used as a zoning in Iowa, so we are looking to professionals in zoning law to help guide us through there and look over the ordinance that we have proposed. The Planning and Zoning and Economic Development Committee and myself and Planning and Zoning Department have drafted an ordinance, so we intend to send them to to Ahlers and Cooney for review. So we're estimating around 20 hours, so under $5,000 for this.
Any questions, council?
This refers to downtown area, but this is really kind of up around the
New Chicago area.
New Chicago area.
Yep.
Okay.
And this will just come out of planning budget? Okay. Just wanted to clarify that. Okay, any questions?
Motion to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Toohill. Any discussion? Seeing none, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously. Next action item, consideration of professional services agreement with Midland GIS Solutions.
Midland GIS is the company that we have selected to do our mapping system, and they provide an online server. Last year, 2 years ago, we did the sanitary sewer system to survey grade GPS. We have in this year's budget to do the water department. So we have a proposal from Midland for a total of $62,235 to do the water network and the private curb stops. The department will be locating these, or finding them, and then Midland comes in and shoots them. And what we're able to do then is if a customer comes in and says they want to know where their curb stop is, we can provide them, print them off a map, give them a dimension from something, or they can even type in the GPS location on their phone to get them closer. I mean, your phones aren't that accurate, but it gives them a rough idea. So we're looking forward to getting the water system mapped with Midland. And like I said, this was a budgeted expense in the water department.
Any questions, council?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Rasmussen, second by Flournoy. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously to approve the mapping system for a total cost of $62,235. Next action item, consideration of amendment to professional services agreement with French Reneker Associates for Step 2. This has to do with reconstruction of Forest Drive and the sewer improvements.
As you stated, this amendment is for step 2. It's for the design and engineering during construction for Forest Drive between Broadway Avenue and Briggs Avenue. This amendment is for $23,000, and this, like I said, includes design, engineering during construction, and construction staking. Do you guys have any questions?
No questions? Okay, we'll take a motion to approve that.
Move to approve?
Motion by Gandy,
Second.
second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Approved unanimously, thank you. Next action item, consideration of the city of Fairfield's disaster recovery plan.
It was presented to you last council meeting.
Since I wasn't there, you all felt like I should be here to talk about it, which is fine. This was something that the auditors strongly have recommended us to put into place primarily for our data system or for the computer systems that handle our billing through for the water and sewer. The correction was made for Doug, and then I did find one thing where I should have had some access systems information in there too that I corrected also on this amended plan.
So this is a disaster plan. Is it primarily for?
That one not on?
IT?
Oh, okay.
This is primarily for IT, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes, we can still use it. You can still use the call lists for physical disasters. We would still rely pretty heavily on Brett Ferrel and the police department and the fire department to handle those things.
So I'm just wondering, my thought is this an accurate description of it as a disaster recovery plan, or is it more specifically a disaster recovery plan referencing or related to IT?
Well, it sounds like a tornado disaster recovery plan for the city of Fairfield.
It can
That's
do
the title.
It can do anything, but it's mostly focused on IT.
I don't know if that's a big matter, but my concern is if a citizen or resident refers to this or reads it.
Well,
as
a citizen,
pointed to it.
this shouldn't be for public.
Okay.
This is for our internal use if there's a issue to be calling people. Externally, no, people shouldn't be using it for a disaster. We should be using it, and then we would be putting out information through the
There's a separate-
national command system and stuff like
There's a
that.
separate disaster recovery plan for the county
Correct,
and the city
correct,
at large.
correct.
This is internal for IT purposes.
Well, internal for us to react to anything in particular.
But aren't some of the first go-tos on this off-site IT people? Aren't they the very first
For
ones
the-
listed?
Well, the first few go-to people are me and Rebecca and the mayor. After that, yes, we would have to go to Access Systems, which they have a call center where we would be calling in to get in touch with our network administrator and engineer, stuff like that, yes.
Okay.
Because
There-
everything's backed up on the cloud,
Through them, yes.
on their servers.
We have a server here on site, and then they have backup also,
Offsite.
yes.
There is one section in there too that ranks the top 3 in priority, which is the city within internal here. I think police department was number 2 and library was number 3. Does the fire department not fall under that jurisdiction at all? Or
The fire department doesn't have as much, again, it's focused somewhat on computer stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why the police department and the library are on there higher up than the fire department, because the fire department has 2 or 3 computers.
Oh, they don't have.
So-
I assume they had some kind of
So-
big mapping.
No, they don't have
System, yeah.
anything like
No.
that.
Okay. Yeah, Scott.
They do have Scott Bond though.
Priceless.
There is on the very first page too. There's what constitutes a disaster. They list like 5 or 6 things. Is it? Why are those even listed? I mean, it's not limited to those. I'm sure at
No.
any point.
I can't answer
Is there-
that. I took this as a draft form from somewhere else and then put it to ours, so
Okay.
however it was listed. It doesn't matter per se.
Right.
It's just,
Okay.
okay, if we have a problem, we know that we have a
Included but not
document.
limited to.
We can go to this and start down the tree to work things out.
Okay.
Do you want to add that language?
Included but not limited to.
Yeah.
I
Right in
guess
that
it would
first
make sense.
paragraph, you could say the city of Fairfield defines disasters as the following, but, add what you just said.
Would this be a document worth referring to I'm thinking the Public Safety Committee for review, and then to return to the council with a recommendation, having a chance to perhaps go through it?
I think we're overthinking this.
Yeah, I'd say this is very standard from a corporate perspective, that you
Yeah.
have disaster recovery plan policy written in place in a binder online. And you hope you never refer to it, but if you have to, it's an internal. It has nothing to do
No,
with the public.
Okay, I don't have any problem with the idea of having a disaster plan. I think it's a good idea. I'm just, the language of the plan, it seems, to me, it seems like the plan is, the description of the plan, the title of the plan is broader than it actually is. That's my concern.
Would you feel better if the word technology disaster recovery plan was in the title?
I would, because I think that's what it's referring to. I mean, it's an IT plan, it's an IT recovery plan. That's what it is. That's what it seems like to me.
I mean, that's what it's just
That is
it's a
what it
spelled
is.
out flow chart for IT.
Correct, but
Really?
but let's say we had a tornado go through town.
Mm-hmm.
It would probably start the same way, but then we would go to the police department and we would go to emergency management to start working through stuff like that too.
Well, we wouldn't
We
have
have
to,
a separate
tornado's
plan
not
for-
one of the disasters listed, so we wouldn't have to worry.
That's right, we don't have those here. So,
And I don't mean to blindside you, Aaron, because I didn't have a chance to look
It-
at it in detail before this meeting.
Correct.
But I know we had talked about it last time when you were here, so I'm not, I think it's a good idea, and the city ought to have it. My concern is just to make sure if it does what it says it does, and if it does less, that we define it that way, so that we don't put this away as, we have a disaster plan now, but we don't really have one for, say, other events, like, for example, a tornado, for example. This is not really focused on that, it's focused on IT, so maybe we should say that in this plan, and then we leave the room and the space to create another plan for other kinds of events.
if that's how you want to do it, that's fine.
Like I said earlier, we already have plans for natural disasters outside of the city offices, for example.
Correct. And we would rely heavily on emergency management and our police department to handle those, along with working with the mayor and myself and stuff like
Right.
that.
I think changing the title to make it more reflective of what it really is might be beneficial.
Okay, you want,
To approve it with the amended title, City of Fairfield IT Disaster Recovery Plan.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
Jason, is Mike working? Jason?
Keep it talking.
Moved by Hallie, second by Gandy to change the title to City of Fairfield IT Disaster Recovery Plan. Any other discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes,
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Do you want any additional language in that first paragraph under definition of a disaster?
I don't know if it needs it, because I mean, I
Okay.
think it's just gonna be common sense,
Yeah,
so.
okay. Okay, so we made the amendment to the title. Any other discussion on this? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the plan as written.
That was my motion.
We just did that.
That
My
was
motion
the-
was to approve
sorry.
it with the new title.
Okay, sorry. Okay. We'll go on to the next thing. Consideration of fuel contract agreement. Aaron?
We had a fuel distributor request to have us look at a contract. We have not had a contract in the past. So we reached out to 3 different companies that are local here, and we received 2 quotes or bids back. The best bid was the contract that you have in front of you, so that's what I'm proposing you accept so that we can, it's actually the same company that we've been working with before, but they now we have a formalized contract with them at this point, moving
it's
forward.
a 5-year contract with a 24-month renewal.
Yep. I think
Did it
that's what it
5
said.
years?
I think so. Been a while since I looked at it. What's it say?
It's 5 years.
5 years. Yep.
Additional 24 months.
Good move, we approve.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Gandy. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Okay, that was approved unanimously to accept that fuel contract. Next resolution, approval and adoption of final schedule of stop box curb stop repair abatement. Rebecca?
So this is what we'd like to send over for assessment of property for 5 property owners of unpaid bills.
Okay, and we do have one appeal.
Yeah, we received a written appeal.
Is he here?
Yes.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Will you state your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Joe Sider,
Okay. And you live at 1000 South Court, C Street?
C Street, yeah.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
I was told that the stop box responsibility for maintenance and repairs falls upon me. I've checked other townships and communities. It's very rare that's the case, but it sometimes does happen. If it indeed is my responsibility, then I think that I'd like to be informed that it needs repairs or replacement, and then wouldn't I be able to choose the tradesperson wouldn't I be able to hire the tradesperson of my choosing rather than being sent a bill? It doesn't make it feel like it's very mine. Also, physically, it's over 150 feet from my house. There's 2 other residences between me and it.
That's a good question.
Yes, go ahead.
I thought you said in the letter that it was in the ordinance that you had to be informed before the city did the work, so that you could hire your own professional if you wanted to. Is that accurate?
Oh, I would, no, I said I would think that it should be that way, but I see no evidence of that. I was sent a bill before I was informed that it needed repairs whatsoever.
Do you want to speak to that, Rebecca?
I can, certainly. So we sent a notice to the property owner on, I have the right date here, November 2nd, 2016, certified. That did not come back, so that property did receive that. So we did that in November, and then we did the work, it looks like, in December of 16.
And the notice includes all the information that he would have needed?
Yeah, it just says the notice to repair. Talks about how we are unable to shut off the water due to the stop box being broke. If the issue is not resolved, that the city will be contacting you to schedule an installation at your expense. If you have any questions regarding this matter, please feel free to contact us.
So it sounds like from that letter that they can hire their own professional to fix the stop box if they so desire.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this working, Jason? Try it. All right.
I must have missed the letter, I apologize.
Well, this happened to me. My stop box was leaking. I called and told them I was hiring someone, and they accepted that, and then
Okay.
the guy did it. So, yeah, I mean, there is a 30-day window or something where you're supposed to call back and just let them know, I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it myself, or,
Definitely missed that. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So does he still have an opportunity to make payments towards that, or it's,
We are currently past that
Okay.
time.
okay, I just want to clarify.
There's been invoices
Yeah.
mailed.
Okay. So he could certainly make payments really towards his taxes.
Right.
To take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
That's about what I paid, by the way.
It's
Yeah.
reasonable.
It's about the same as what you probably would have paid privately.
Yeah.
We've doubled it since then, though, just so people know.
Oh,
When we raised the rates a year ago.
So you got a good deal.
Yeah, it was back in
Yeah.
16.
I was like, I paid more than that.
Yeah.
Might also, Mr. Seibert might want to check in the treasurer's office. There's a way, if you want, that they can space this out into installment or something. It's over $100, so you can ask to do that if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Okay?
Thank you. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve these.
I move we approve the final schedule of stop box and curb stop repair abatement.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Toohill. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, the next resolution, consideration of VW SEV project funding agreement, second and Briggs. Michael?
All right, that acronym is the Volkswagen Zero Emission Vehicle Grant. We won both that we applied for. I brought this to council in February. We applied for 2 locations and they awarded both. These are reimbursement grants, so after the work is completed, we submit, and it's 90% up to 1,240. So total project can't exceed 1,400. And our initial estimate, we were barely over 10, so I don't think we'll get anywhere near that. But the city would have to, 1,400, 1,400, not 14.
That would be our match? Or
Oh,
is that-
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, 14,000, and the match being 1,240.
That's for both of them together?
That's one, so there would be 2 of those. So
Okay.
the most that we would be paying would be
3,000.
the 10% of each, 2,800.
$3,000 round.
Yeah, a little less than 3. So there will be a little bit of work required by our engineer to create a site plan, but it's extremely simple, I think, compared to most of the stuff. It just basically shows where the charger will be and which parking stall it will be in. And then Alliant Energy had offered to pay the portion, and that's really great because it keeps the price down, to connect them to their utility. And they're interested in this, obviously, because it's increased consumption for them. And just a reminder, they are not charging at the city's expense. They are paying for the electricity, and we can set that rate. So we can make it, a little bit profitable for the city, but at the same time, you want it to be, we're not trying to make a bunch of money off of these. We just want to cover our expenses. And then one of the grant requirements is we have to put each one on an electric vehicle charging station locator website. We'll probably put them on more than one, but there are several different ones out there. So when people are driving, especially cross-country, they know where they can charge. So there's a benefit to them choosing our downtown. Say it takes an hour to charge their vehicle, they can come and spend their money at our restaurants and maybe shop. So we'll just do them one at a time, but the dollar amount is the same. But one of these is in the parking lot near the public restroom building, and then the second one is in the parking lot behind the old movie theater. So this first one, I believe, is the, let's see, what's the address on there? Second and Briggs, yep.
So when will we set our rate? What's the plan for that?
After we've installed them, so we can make a decision at that time, because to tell you the truth, I haven't checked to see what the going rate is. But that's not part of this agreement. They don't.
I know.
The grant people don't care what
Yeah.
we set it at. That's really an internal decision for us.
But is there going to be some time then, by the time it's installed, before it goes live?
Yeah.
Because, we need to make sure we know what the rate is before it goes live.
Also,
That's the point is.
we had to maintain it for 5 years minimum,
Yeah.
so we should figure out what the maintenance cost is going to be,
Yeah. I mean,
if any, going out 5 years.
exactly, if any. But would need to spray the decal on the parking spot. that shows that it's for EV charging, maybe once a year.
I was asking, should we put signage up at Burlington? An arrow pointing?
Not necessary, actually. If you just put the signage on the actual charger, that's good enough. Yeah.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
they have that.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
We have until the end of 2021 to get this done.
Okay.
And it's going to take a while you have to jump through a bunch of hoops, get permission to order equipment in the right way. That'll probably come back to council once we get competitive bids for the equipment. So there are all these steps along the way. This isn't going to happen this summer. It's probably going to happen in spring.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So we need to have a motion to approve the,
Yep. We'll just-
Agreement?
Yep, accept the
I
agreement.
move that we approve the agreement for Second and Briggs, I guess, first.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Okay, approved unanimously. Let's go on to the second one. Same agreement for Second and Burlington.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Toohill. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Thank you. Approved unanimously. Next resolution, consideration of proposing vacating real estate interest of a city easement for easement exchange.
All right, John will go over what the resolution actually says and is doing, but I wanted to remind you why we are doing this. When the bids came in for Libertyville Road, the contractor that was the low bidder suggested an alternate route for a portion of the sanitary sewer. And so the 3 property owners that were affected by this alternate route, we signed an easement agreement with them. Or we were under the understanding is that they'd give us the new easement and we would return the old easement in exchange for it. So since they were already paid for the first one, there was no cost for the second one. So now we're gonna take care of the legal side of doing that.
Right, and your first resolution is a resolution proposing to vacate. What we've already agreed is vacated, and the map shows the part that we decided to use under the new sketch of what seemed like a better alternative route. And the easement map shows the vacated parts A and B, and that is what we are proposing under our vacating action to give back to the owner. We call it equivalent value, and we aren't expected to pay them a dime more than we already paid them a year or two ago when we did the 6B taking from them like we did with everybody else. So the first thing we got to do is set a hearing for the vacating. We propose that we do that yet this month on the 24th, and that resolution then will bring in front of you on the 24th the purpose of vacating. On the 24th, we anticipate that you won't be in a position yet unless we are presumptuous of your acts and that you're just going to rubber stamp what I'm recommending, and I can't do that, and you can't do that. So we're going to have you set a separate hearing for purpose of returning by transfer to these 2 parcels to the Huffman Estates owner, but we'll need to do that in September. We have to do a separate notice of our intent to dispose of it and transfer it, and the public has an opportunity to object under 364.7. So that's the purpose of the second resolution, which will follow. But I'd appreciate it if you take action first to set a hearing for the 24th of August. The resolution to vacate this first is what would be taken up then. So if I could have your motion on that.
I move we set a public hearing for the 24th
Right.
of August to consider the vacation of the easement described.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
All right, and then if I can have a motion from you for the purpose of considering the disposal of the vacated parcel, but not until September. We have to do a newspaper publication about that. That's a reason to bump it back an additional meeting. So your first meeting in September, I think, is the 14th, is that right? So if someone would move to consider disposal on the 14th, that would be appreciated.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Rasmussen. Any other discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, next resolution. Consideration of authorizing and providing for the incurrence of indebtedness for the purpose of providing a portion of the cost of acquiring, constructing, enlarging, improving, and/or extending its public body facility to serve an area lawfully within its jurisdiction to serve in the amount of $4,848,000. Aaron?
This resolution is something that we should have, it's a formality. We've already done it. This was done back in 2017, or I believe. We should have had this resolution done with all of our USDA paperwork back then. We need to approve this resolution to finish the paperwork for the, I believe the step, or the, is it? Wastewater treatment plant. Thank you.
So we're more or less authorizing 4 million we've already done?
Yep.
Okay. More or less.
We've already authorized it. We just didn't do the paperwork properly.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Gandy?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next resolution, consideration of resolution declaring an official intent under Treasury Regulation 1.150-2 to issue debt to reimburse the city for certain original expenditures paid in connection with the specified projects. This has to do with the fire station.
Correct. After discussing with Steve Nadel from Ahlers and Cooney about the possibility of going through this, the purchase of the property in order to reimburse us when we bond, if we bond, we need to have a resolution within the first 60 days of the purchase of the property. So even if we don't bond, or if we sell the property, or whatever we do with the property in the future, if we do borrow and want to reimburse ourselves for the cost of the property, we need to pass a resolution to do that. So that is what this resolution is.
Move to approve?
Second.
Moved by Gandy, second by Flournoy. Any discussion?
One point of discussion, it's a request to avoid the hot-headed email or voicemail I left you Friday after reading this, misunderstanding what it was. Sometimes a memo to the council would be helpful when there's something on the agenda that could be misconstrued. Because I read it as, what, are we approving $4 million borrowing for something we haven't even studied? And then Aaron talked me down from the ledge, as he put it. And once he explained it, it made a lot of sense. So, there's little memos, or, hey, just this is what this is, to the council on a Friday, may help avoid those misunderstandings.
Or, like we did with the transfer of funds, just put a 2-sentence line in there on the agenda explaining, or a link explaining what the purpose of that.
Yeah, you can actually link a memo to the agenda.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen that before, too.
But this resolution right now is to wrap the purchase price of the land into any bonds we might issue in the future if we put a building up.
Correct.
Yeah, and if we don't do it within 60 days of buying
Right.
it, then we
Then we
never.
can't, then we can't
Motion
use
to
it.
approve?
Then we can't do that.
Yeah, so, makes sense.
Okay, great. Thank
Once you
you.
understand it.
Okay, please call the roll.
Gandy?
Yes.
Flournoy?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Toohill?
Yes.
Ham?
Yes.
Hallie?
Yes.
Rasmussen?
Yes.
Thank you. That was approved unanimously. Next resolution, consideration of resolution fixing date for a meeting on the authorization of a loan agreement and the issuance of not to exceed $4,020,000 sewer revenue capital loan notes of the city of Fairfield, state of Iowa, and providing for publication of notice thereof. So this, again, has to do with the wastewater plant, and
the other part of it is taking care of our SRF loans that we did with the state of Iowa through the, it was the design phase that we switched from SRF to USDA. So we had design notes with SRF, so we're wrapping those up with the wastewater treatment plant to finalize that
And all we're doing is setting a meeting with this.
for the public hearing.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah, public hearing on Monday, August 24th at 7. Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Gandy, second by Anderson. Any other questions or discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Gandy.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Great, thank you. Approved unanimously. We have an ordinance amending City Code 10.34 concerning prohibited parking to additionally limit and restrict various forms of parking, including right-of-way parking. This is a first reading. You have anything, Katie, to change or it's written as
This is the school parking?
No, this is
No,
the right
This
of way
is the
part.
right
This
of
is
way.
the
Okay.
right-of-way.
This is
So-
a long list of
Yep.
where you
Earlier
cannot
this
park your car.
evening, Public Safety and Transportation met to review the ordinance not yet numbered. And there are two minor changes that we want to make to that after having a discussion with the city engineer and streets department. So under section 1, originally written area between lot line and curb line is going to be, we recommend to the council that it be changed to area between lot line and edge of street. Because there will be areas where there is no curb, the curb's been worn down. And
Yeah, right.
so we're trying to make sure that we catch that. In that same paragraph, so I guess I consider it all part of one, by changing that curb line to edge of street, if you go further into the second sentence, that area of the public way not covered by sidewalk or line between the lot line and the edge of street instead of curb line. And then we'll be striking the where curbing has been installed because we're doing edge of street, not curb.
Edge of street is defined as a certain distance from the center point of the road?
Edge of the traveled way. Edge of the traveled way, according to Chief Thomas. So that was the first change that we made to it. And then on the back, number 7, regarding fire hydrants, we would like to strike 5 feet and replace it with 15 feet. So we'd like to see cars not parked within 15 feet of fire hydrants. And according to Scott, that's kind of the common number throughout other communities. Our goal here is hopefully to clean up the right-of-way throughout the community. So this is the parking in the right-of-way that's come and gone for the last 5 or 6 years. And this is the ordinance that's come out of public safety for that. So questions?
What are the consequences for parking there?
It would be as, I believe, is Chief Thomas still out there?
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
Simple misdemeanor, is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am. Lowest levels parking ticket, sir.
And then towed afterwards?
I think it was just parking tickets. If it doesn't correct, then we can check into impoundment, but mostly just parking tickets will correct it after a while.
$20 or $40 or $50? What is it?
$20 if they pay in the first 30 days, sir. Then it goes up to 40, I think.
We're gonna put an article in the paper so people know.
We can
Yes.
sure ask Andy to do that.
Yeah, I think that would be important to do, because there's a lot of people parking in the right of way.
Yep. And I don't know, somebody in this room has access to our Facebook page. It'd probably be good to get it up on there too.
And on the radio.
So I remember we'd looked at this before, and I'd asked about all the businesses, schools, all over, I mean, there's a lot of paved, technically, right-of-way parking in town. High school, Pence, it's all over. So all of it's now legal? We passed this?
So we're relying a lot on the officers enforcing to use best discernment. There are a number of businesses in town that have taken the time to cut the curb, pave the parking. They're not the ones that are dragging mud out and destroying the curbs that are currently there. I asked Chief Thomas after reviewing this if he felt it was enforceable, and he trusts his officers to use judgment in enforcing it. And then down, we plan on having a second meeting down the road where we address, Melanie, like the driveways and the curbs and the, you had a term for it. SUDAS rules.
We would be looking to set a construction standard for legal right-of-way parking. Instead of relying on the officers to know which zone they're in, or that the cars are appropriate amount away from the edge of the road and those types of things, we would be setting either internal design standards or setting a code so that if it's on a paved surface, the officers can assume that's legal parking, and anything else is against the ordinance that's in front of you. So we have some work to do in the planning and zoning and streets department before this is really in full force.
Okay, so, this is a discussion I used to have with Mike Harmon about the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. So the letter of the law, if we pass this, is all right-of-way parking is illegal.
Yes.
And the spirit of the law is that our enforcement are going to look to see if it was installed properly, or if they're just pulling up on the grass where there's obviously no curb cut, and they're going to make a discernment who to ticket and who not to ticket, until we can come back and fine-tune the language.
The fine tuning won't happen within this ordinance because this is very specific. So we're talking about
Planning and zoning.
planning and zoning ordinances that are going to get updated to support this.
Okay.
So there were no additional changes to this necessarily, as much as other ordinances that will then in turn support this. Is kind of how
Michael,
it
I
was.
think your fine tuning is gonna be in streets and alleys in the chapter after the parking ordinance area.
My concern is that
We'll do a
somebody
process.
who did, say, gravel, right, in their right-of-way, and they have a multi-family housing, I think of some places like this, they might get enforced and ticketed when a business that paved it and it looks very official and striped it may not. And because the letter of the law doesn't say that the people who paved and striped it are legal, that the people who are getting ticketed may feel discriminated against.
Yeah, I think this particular ordinance, the intent is to try to, as much as possible, eliminate parking on that curbside right-of-way. If we do a permitting process for places where they're under the streets and alley part of our code, there may need to be that, or it may be no other alternative is possible. We don't have the standards in there yet, so that's why right now everything is off the board, so to speak.
The intent will be to have a permitting process so that there is a standard and the police will know what that standard is, so they don't have to know what zone they're in or anything like that. They'll know that this standard for off-street park or right-of-way parking is acceptable, anything else is not, and move forward.
And how soon will we do that?
I say-
So you'll have it next meeting, right? Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, the standards are going to be determined by Melanie working with Daryl, working with Mr. Morrissey. So we just weren't ready to set that meeting tonight.
Yeah, I guess I was just wondering how quickly you thought you were going to get on it so we don't have some gray area for too long, that's all.
I say
You know?
we acknowledged in the meeting there's going to be a gray area, and we acknowledged that there are there are going to be people who are outside the letter of the law as soon as we pass this, and that's where we look to Chief Thomas and his officers to be discretionary and use their best judgment. We're not out to penalize people. We're out to clean up the look and feel of our town. So
Okay.
this is coming before you with an official motion to move this from the first to the second reading.
So motion by Anderson,
Second.
second by Flournoy. Any other discussion or question? Not, please call a roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Okay, approved unanimously. Thank you. And that will move that to the second reading. Ordinance 1192, amendment to Chapter 10.56, regulation one-way streets and the traffic flow around Washington School. Any changes to that? You want to
No.
talk about, Melanie?
No changes from public safety tonight.
Yeah, we discussed this in public safety tonight, went over it in detail, had the superintendent and the principal for, the new principal for Washington School there. He has promised us he will communicate effectively with the parents and forcefully and make sure that this is how it's going to be. And he will work with staff to make sure that they enforce it. So, motion move this to third and final reading.
Second.
Okay, moved by Anderson, second by Rasmussen. Again, I want to point out this is moving to the third reading because they have to get it in place before
Yep.
school starts.
No, we want to put it to final, don't we?
Yep, third and final.
First
That's
you
correct.
move from second to third, do that by a motion.
Okay,
Okay.
and then third and final, because we
Okay,
need it in
so-
place by school.
Right, okay, so this will be moving it to the second reading.
Third.
To the
Third.
third,
Moving it to the third reading.
and then we've got to approve. the
And then we
third.
got to turn around and do it again.
You're doing a move to suspend the rules.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
you move to suspend the rules.
Go past the second.
Right,
There we go.
so there, we got it right.
What Mr. Morrissey said.
My apologies. Okay, suspend the rules.
Mm-hmm. Motion to suspend the rules for this ordinance.
Second.
Okay, moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy.
One small point. I feel like I'm being all persnickety, but I would like to communicate with the school, let them know if they want to change an ordinance, like, please start like middle of the summer. This is the third or fourth time we've been rushed to do an ordinance change.
We
for-
did call out in this meeting that we have literally tried every direction of traffic around that school,
Yeah.
and this is our last effort. If this doesn't work,
But in terms of, we don't really ever really
There's
get
no
our
solution.
we don't get our three readings typically.
know.
We're always rushing to do these, so maybe, you
I'll
know,
call the question.
Any other
that's
discussion?
my gripe for the night.
Yeah. Any other discussion? Okay, please call a roll.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Toohill.
Yes,
Okay, now we need a motion to take it to the third and final reading.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Toohill.
yes,
Gandy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance 1190, this is the this is the third and final reading for the amendment to the City Code, Chapter 20, accessory structures that have to do with the solar energy structures.
motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Toohill, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Toohill.
Yes,
Flournoy.
Yes.
Gandy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Abstain, I work for a solar development company.
Ham.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, that was approved with one abstention from Mr. Hallie. Thank you. Third and final reading for ordinance 1191, amendment to City Code 19.08 subdivision requirements application.
motion to approve.
Second.
Moved by Toohill, second by Gandy. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Toohill.
Yes,
Gandy.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Ham.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Great, thank you. That was passed unanimously. And thank you for being efficient on all of that. Under the mayor's report, at your seat, I have a list of people that I'd like to point to the Multicultural Committee. They include Lisa Cohen, Adrian Logsden, Christina Cox, Alita Motti, Wendy Carminato, Morgan Perry, Motier Haskins, Wilson Napolio, Matt Stutzman, Johnny Shaw, and Ken Malloy. I gave you a little bit of information here. I didn't give you the normal form. I wanted to leave off contact numbers for now, although, you know, you can have those. We'll get those to Rebecca. This is a very diverse group, a lot of good people, and a lot of people interested in this topic, want to be participating and ambassadors for Fairfield in this area. And we look forward to having some nice things come out of this committee.
I move we approve the list of appointment to the Multicultural Committee.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Gandy. Any discussion? If not, please call a roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Gandy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Ham,
Yes.
Toohill,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Also, I wanted to let you know that we did send out letters regarding the comprehensive plan with a spreadsheet where our participants on the committee could put in their suggested timeline, any comments, any organizations beyond the city that they think that might be useful in helping that particular thing come through. Did all the council members get one in their box?
No, I just gave them to the planning committee first.
Okay.
We can give them all copies of that same.
Yeah, we should. And then you guys can do it too, and then we'll get those back and compile them, and then talk about it at our work session this fall. This came out of our work session in the spring, if you remember, or late winter. And so hopefully we'll have those back pretty shortly here in August and can take the next step. So that's just an FYI. That's all I have. So John, do you have anything right now?
I do, but let's see. Yeah. I just talked to Paul before we met tonight, and we're in the process, we're doing well with locating where our ambulance replacement service is going to be. We're doing well with the replacement vehicles. We have the new care ambulance providers in town working regularly every other day or so doing things. I was telling Mr. Gandy, who's on the committee, that the county attorney and the hospital attorneys and myself have drafted a letter to Midwest, and I'll just say it's encouraging them to carry out every day of the remainder of the contract up to September 30th, but cautioning them that if there's anything to rumors that they might consider doing something different than fulfilling to the September 30th end of the contract, that we would have to do some things anticipatory, including dealing with them on their subsidy that they get the 10th of each month. So we've asked their attorney to respond to us to make sure that everything is going to work like it's contracted to work. Talking with Paul, I owe Paul an apology. I'm not sure whether the letter that we drafted last week went out or not. We left it on Friday as the lawyers were all happy with it, but I don't know if anybody finished sending it. So at this point, we don't have a reason to think the attorney for Midwest has it in hand yet. We're definitely going to keep track of that so that we know their posture yet this month as far as next month. But that is something we're keeping our eye on and we're concerned about, and I don't think it's necessarily going to work out anything but the best for us, but we're also looking at the possibility that it could go south on us, so we don't want that to happen, and we're cautioning them to be careful about the way they finish the contract. The last time that we had litigation over an ambulance service contract, it was literally at this point in time, the last couple months of the contract, that the litigation ended up mostly being about. So we're going to be as careful as we can. Other than that, I'm not bringing you news of litigation or anything like that that we should be in closed session about, but we're encouraged by the replacement, and we're being careful about the termination and end of the contract with Midwest. So,
Great, thank you, John. Committee and board reports, Personnel Committee, Judy?
Sorry, I didn't make the notes out. It was a simple open session part. We just had some questions for Melanie as her position is getting developed the more that she's working with the city. And so we were just getting ourselves updated on things as that position is getting developed, since she's the first one to be holding that position for the city. So we were just apprising ourselves so we better understood what she's actually doing and how that is fleshing out. So that's what that was. It was just an informative thing for us.
Great. Property Committee? Meeting from today?
Melanie can do it.
Property Committee met today at noon. The Carnegie Museum, in working with Indian Hills, wants to replace the sign in front of the building. The sign is being largely funded by Indian Hills, with the remainder paid by the Carnegie Foundation. The sign will be, the lighted box sign that is there now will be replaced with a nice stone sign, very fitting of the building. And it will say both Indian Hills and Carnegie Museum. And so the board, if I remember the motion correctly, the board recommended to council to accept this project or accept it as improvements to the Carnegie building, except for they would like to see the Carnegie sign and the Indian Hills sign be two separate pieces of stone, so that if Indian Hills would need to come off in the future, that it would be easy, relatively speaking, easy to remove that second part. So that was the main purpose, or the purpose of the meeting.
Great, thank you. Public Safety and Transportation, I guess we've already heard that. We've already voted on it, so nothing to add, I take it.
Yep.
Do we need to, does the council need to ratify that committee? Because the committee doesn't have authority. So do we need to vote on that sign?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So I'll make the motion to accept the sign design as it is,
okay.
and with that hope that we can have the two separate pieces for the Indian Hills and the,
If
if not.
it's too expensive, yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of up to the people paying for it, which is primarily Indian Hills.
Right.
Okay, great, thank you. So.
Second.
Moved by Hallie, second by Toohill. Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, passed unanimously. Thank you. Administrative and department reports?
Yes, last week Melanie and I had a conference call with Klinger, the architectural firm, or are they an engineering firm, Melanie?
Yes.
Okay, both. Anyway, met with them. They are the firm that did the remodel here. They also helped at Carnegie, and they've also looked at the Civic Center as far as structural design, what needs to happen over there. We have a good working relationship with them. We'd like to have them do a study to look at primarily the current site, the DOT site. We wrote down the south of the property south of the Law Center, the old helipad over by the old hospital, and then possibly down on 227th for site considerations for the fire department's new building. We think that'll give us a good idea of what's the most feasible, as we talked about earlier, disagreeing or with some disagreement from people whether or not that was a good site. So we felt that having an architect that we have a good relationship with, they actually have the lead architect involved there is actually a volunteer firefighter, so he would have a lot of knowledge of the fire department workings, along with understanding the ISO rating and how that affects insurance, along with response times, and then of course building maintenance.
If we're doing insurance, you mean residential insurance?
Correct.
Just make that clear, public
Yes.
knows that.
Correct.
Their insurance rates depend on where this fire station sits and
Yep.
how accessible it is to their location and that kind of thing.
Correct. One comment when we were talking about it is if we move the fire station somewhere where response times increased drastically, you could move our ISO rating, which is a 4 right now, up to a 5 or a 6, which would impact insurance rates. So that's something to consider when looking at a location for a fire station. So does anybody, I guess, first of all, with the list I just gave you for sites, does anybody else have any suggestions for sites? We came up with those 5.
Can you
We
list
go
them
over
again?
them, I'm sorry.
Yes, I didn't get them all.
The current site, the DOT site,
Yep.
south of the Law Center, there's a big open field there. Old Hill Pad site over by Sunnybrook, and then down in the new
Industrial park?
industrial park. Thank you.
How about the,
Off of 227th.
didn't Ed Noyes mention Old Chicago?
He did. Do you want us?
Chicago?
Do you want us to look at that?
Well, I think we should probably look at it because he mentioned it, and he's
Okay.
gonna be looking for that on the list, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. We can add that one too. Understand, the more we add sites, the more expensive the review is going to be. But that's fine.
What's the estimated cost then, you think?
I can't give you one until we talk to them again.
So is this, are you wanting a kind of additional approval, or are you just going to come back with an actual plan?
Well, our plan is to go back, as long as you're okay with us talking to Klinger, we would go to Klinger and ask them to give us a contract approval or give us a proposal to do a review of those sites.
And then that would come back for approval.
Correct. The approval will come, we'll probably bring it back next council meeting or the first one in September.
Can we switch, I mean, is the industrial park too far out? Can we switch, have they
I-
put anything in motion yet or not?
They haven't done anything yet. We just had a conversation as to what they thought was the proper steps, so that's where we're at now.
I mean, rather than, so we don't
One
increase the
one of
cost.
the sites that was thrown out by the public was down by the hospital, so we thought that would be a good one to put in there also. Why we probably can't use that site. So if you don't want that site, we can scratch that site.
I mean, if we throw in Old Chicago and
I would
Is
almost
anybody-
switch those two.
Huh?
I would almost switch those two.
Old Chicago and the industrial
Drop
park?
the industrial,
Yeah,
just
I
because it's
kinda
out
think
there
so,
so
too.
far away.
That's
I
fine.
think so too. I
The
mean,
only-
it's
the
a great
positive there
opportunity,
is-
but there's nothing.
The positive there, though, is you have access to Highway 34 and you can get to west and east fairly quickly. But even on the west side of town, you're a mile out of town when you're coming off of Highway 34. So that's fine. I've got no dog in that fight.
Scott, have we at least listed everywhere you thought of before we bid on the DOT site?
Yeah.
So we've at least put your ideas on paper? Okay.
That sound good to you all? Okay,
So strike the 227th.
yep, I'll take 227th off and go with Old Chicago.
And no discussion about the parking lot, city parking lot by the senior center? Did you throw that one out? I know you and I talked about it.
I would prefer to keep that for City Hall if there is ever a need or move of City Hall. I think that would be a better spot for that. You don't have quite as good a traffic flow, especially with the one-way street right there to the north.
Okay.
The old Fairfield Glove Building too is for sale, which isn't, I mean,
Probably a lot more.
there'd be a lot of.
There's
work
also
on
a
that.
design, there's also a proposal purchase on that one right now that I can't talk about.
Okay, so do you want to vote on this?
Just an approval to talk to Klinger
Okay.
about the proposal. Yes, that I would like.
Okay, so he wants an approal to talk to Klinger
So
to
I
get
move we-
get us some numbers on this.
Direct the
come back with
city
a-
administrator
Okay,
to take this
so
list to
I'll take a
Klinger and
motion.
get a
So
quote.
moved.
Moved by Anderson,
I'll second.
second by Ham. Any discussion?
What am I doing here?
You have permission to talk to them.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Okay, great, thanks. Okay, we are going to go into closed session, so I will take a motion to goes into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Toohill,
Second?
second by Flournoy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, we'll go to closed session and we'll take a 5-minute break.